Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome. My name is Happy Reno. I'm the Executive Director of BC Bereavement Helpline. We'd like to thank you for joining us for today's or tonight's webinar that's titled Understanding Homicide Related Grief. So today we're gathered in community and in care, and we also would like to hold this space in honor of the victims of the Lapu-Lapu tragedy, remembering their lives and the loved ones who continue to carry loss. So we're grateful that you guys are here with us tonight. I would like to acknowledge that BC Bereavement Helpline is located in the New Westminster on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Kikite First Nation. We recognize their enduring connection to this land and honor their ongoing presence and strength as we gather virtually this evening. Please join us in the chat to acknowledge the Indigenous lands each of you are joining us from. If you're joining us for the first time, we are BC Bereavement Helpline. So we are a province-wide nonprofit organization that supports anyone going through grief and loss. We have our helpline, support groups, trainings, and public webinars such as this. Few housekeeping notes before we continue. The session may bring up strong emotions. So if you need to step away at any time, please do so. Please note that this session is being recorded, so please feel free to turn off your camera if you're not comfortable. We also would like to ask everyone to engage with kindness and respect and recognize that some of us here are carrying different kinds of loss. We would like you to feel comfortable wherever you are joining us from. Grab water, tea, tissues, or anything that will help you keep grounded. And note that there's going to be an option for questions at the end of the session as time permits, but you are welcome to add your question in the chat during the session. We would also share a short feedback form afterwards. So kindly take time, like a minute of your time to share your feedback with us. This is how we will continue to grow and show up and support you in ways that matters to you. And I would like to go ahead and introduce our speaker, Trista. Trista is joining us tonight. Trista, this is something that is deeply personal, and I know that this is we thank her for helping us in curating this webinar for tonight. Trista is joining us from a lived experience to this work. She lost her father, Jack McIver, to homicide in 2019 and found support in the BC Bereavement Helpline programs. And she'll talk more about it later. In 2022, Trista became a trained facilitator for homicide and suicide grief support. And she now supports others through compassion, understanding, and care. Everyone, please welcome Trista McIver. The floor is yours, Trista.
Thank you, Happy. I just want to remind everyone just to mute their microphones, please, just because there's some feedback in the background for that. Yeah, so I did come to BCBH in 2019. My father was murdered by a former employee of his, and that was in Vancouver. So we had victim services as part of our support team from the Vancouver Police. And at that time, she had given us a bunch of pamphlets of support, and BCBH was one of them. On the pamphlet, it said homicide survivor. And because the wording around this was always victim, victim, I've thought that was something different and validating. So I did give BCBH a call. There wasn't anything available in Vancouver at the time, but I talked to a woman named Marilyn, and I think she was one of the very first people working in the field. Oh, I see Lynn is nodding. Hi, Lynn. And I could only see a few of you, by the way. And so she redirected me to the Vancouver location because I was moving from Coquitlam to Vancouver to live with my mom. So there's a lot of different things around homicide loss that is ever life changing, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But my identity kind of, it changed from being just, um, I guess I added on another identity of homicide survivor. Um, so that definitely is something that I use even today. All right. So homicide support is homicide grief support group. So this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So for myself, took I was in a support group in 2019 in September, and that was the last one before COVID. So I've the group of us wanted to be able to do it again, and they weren't able to do it in person. So we were the first test pilot of the online, which has been incredible to see that the reach of the online support group has flourished. We're able to reach people now since I'm a facilitator all over BC. I think we even had somebody from Alberta in one of the facilitations as well. So that was great. Now I'm trying to find the link, but it doesn't seem to let me want to copy anything. Hold on a second. Here we go. So I'm going to put the link of the support group into the chat, which, oh, right, I don't think I have access to. Anyway, let me see here. No, darn. I don't seem to have the access. Maybe if Happy can help me, it'd be my support there.
Yeah, of course.
Just for the grief support, homicide grief tab to the website, just put that in the link. So there's 5 videos, I think from YouTube that you can watch. I think I'm in a few of them. It just explains a little bit more about the group. So on this slide here, so the support group says it was founded by Christopher Ducharme, who himself is a homicide survivor and was running BC Victims of Homicide, and BC Bereavement Helpline partnered with them at that time. So what this group offers, as you can see here, is care, understanding, and support to families and friends as they navigate the grief of losing someone to homicide. So within the support group, what we hope to gain is peer support. So providing a community of like-minded individuals who are walking through this grief together, fostering connections and reducing feelings of isolation. Assistance also, providing education, compassionate listening through our grief helpline, resource and referrals to help individuals through the grief process. Well-being, focusing on empathy, coping strategies, self-care, and understanding of grief. Also safety. Under the guidance of the trained facilitators, offering a safe and inclusive environment where participants can express their emotions, memories, and even guilt without fear of judgment, and helping to normalize their grief. So that's just a bit about the overview of the support group. So for this webinar itself, what we're doing is just providing an overview of the group sessions, and then also sorry, one second. So it's not going to be everything that is part of the sessions, but a good overview for you. So the guidelines for this webinar, um, if there's an opportunity to share about your person, please be mindful of other group participants by refraining from sharing of any graphic or triggering details. Okay, we all want to make everybody feel wanted and safe. And with the safety, as we begin for yourselves, feel free to take care of yourself by if you need to step aside at any time or take a break, feel free to do that. Just note this webinar is being recorded, which you probably already know, and you're welcome to keep your camera off to support your privacy and comfort. I just want to note that during the actual sessions, if you're doing them online for the homicide support group, they won't be recorded at all. And as a safety measure, what we like to do is have the participants keep their cameras on during the group sessions, just so that there's a better way to support the group. Okay. So understanding homicide-related grief. So there's a lot of differences between different types of grief out there. So how homicide loss may feel distinct. Homicide survivors are also victims of the crime that was committed against their person. So because of that, we have been indirectly harmed as well by the murder committed. We are harmed by the loss of someone under horrific circumstances and the difficulties resulting from the loss. So the suddenness, trauma, and secondary stressors. So the loss of someone is challenging. However, homicide loss survivors experience loss differently than if it were by accident or natural causes. The difference is the death occurred in a violent manner, and it is difficult to understand why and how someone could commit such a crime. As homicide loss survivors, we can experience emotional suffering such as grief spurts, financial expenses, funeral costs, taking on the mortgage of the loved one's house type of thing, paying off debts, moving, in my case, moved to different cities, social difficulties, maybe by being alienated by others and feeling alone in your grief. Psychological suffering, there could be post-traumatic stress disorder, and also physical effects such as anxiety attacks, overeating, undereating, anything to do with something physical to yourself there. Also holding complex and conflicting emotions. So grief and mourning is unique to each of us. So not all survivors have the same emotions. Some emotions are often experienced, could be such as shock, numbness, denial, fear, confusion, anger. That's definitely one that I experienced a lot of. Emptiness, guilt, isolation, helplessness, vulnerability, depression, blame. These emotional effects can be long-term, and these may also be heightened by holidays or special days in the absence of that person. Impact on identity, safety, and worldview. So for myself now, I have an identity of a homicide survivor, as well as people can have a secondary loss where they're feeling that there's a change in their identity. So maybe gone from married to now widowed, and a, sometimes a feeling of wholeness that is lost when the other person is no longer present, and that role of that person is no longer played. Some people feel, do I feel safe anymore? And maybe I might be more acutely aware of the crime in my community. Has the view of the world changed? I mean, if you're spiritual, are you angry with God? Just remember to be kind to yourself during your grief process. So I'll give you an opportunity now to put in the chat. Happy's going to be monitoring that for me. So if you do feel like sharing, do any of these types of related griefs resonate with you?
So there's a note from Nicole that says, yes, my husband was killed in the line of duty and loss of identity is huge for me.
Mm. Somebody says their slides aren't changing. Okay.
Ah, um,
I haven't moved it yet. I'm still on one. Anyway, it's okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Nicole. Anyone else? Lynn, thank you for sharing. She says that these do resonate with her as well. Thank you. Sandy, oh, your whole identity of your family changed. Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel the same as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Oh, okay. Here, we're getting some more. I'll just read two more. Um, Gianna, Genia. Her sister was, so yes, it's like when you don't have the sibling anymore, right? When your sister passed away. Yeah. And Callum, yeah, the drifting apart of family members. Oh, he was the glue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's lots of changes, absolutely, for sure. Okay, we're on the next slide. It should say aspects of grief. Okay. So this is an idea of a grief continuum line of going from one end to another once you're kind of through your grief. So the first step, the first part of the grief is not step, the first part is the shock, the numbness, denial, emotional outbursts. You can see fear, searching, disorganization, panic, guilt, isolation, depression, reentry troubles, new relationships, new strengths. So as you can see, it goes up. It kind of gets a little bit more hopeful. Um, has anyone seen this example of the grief aspects of grief before? Okay. Yes, it is not linear. Let's see what it is. this was really profound to me when I saw this in my first session. Yeah, the reality. You can go from one end to the other to back and forth and all around. And especially with homicide survivors, I'll talk a little bit later about the justice system. Um, but when as I said, when I was shown these two examples, I felt actually such a relief because I thought that grief was in that linear line of, oh, I'm not, somebody's putting some, I don't know, lines on there. Um, I was, I thought that it was a straight line across where it's going to be hurt, I'm going to have hurt, and then everything will work out once I get to that point. But that's not how it works, which is okay because it's been, let's say, about 7 years since my dad was taken from us, and I still have moments of grief. But now I understand that that is normal, and the intensity is controlled more now, and I don't feel helpless. I don't feel helpless anymore. So when you look at this reality, does this resonate with you as well? Does this, I mean, for me, it was so profound. It was so profound. I was so happy that that this was shown to me. And there's many. Oh yeah, Nicole, 100,000, 1,000 or 100,000. Yes, 1,000%. Perfectly, perfect, perfect. Yeah. So this is a lot of the misconception, I think, that it's out there that grief has this certain way that it has to go and it doesn't. And it what I've learned from the work that I've done in this space, in this group, BCBH, and then also myself facilitating for other people with homicide experience as well, is that we I've been able to learn the tools from this work that I've done to be able to support myself, to support friends, support family, even in any other type of grief that it might be. Um, and I find that this work that I've been doing has been so beneficial, and I'm very happy that I was introduced to this specific work through BCBH. I'm very honored for that. Thank you. So now, did I put these red lines on here? I'm not sure. Do you see red lines on the screen? Not sure. You do? Okay. That wasn't my intention. But anyway, that's okay. So this is to do with traumatic loss. So this is our specific loss. So this could be homicide, suicide, anything to do with not natural way of passing. So after someone you care about dies a sudden violent death, you are forced to struggle with both the traumatic nature of the death and your grief over the loss. So this is a quote from Alan D. Wolfett from his book, Healing Your Traumatized Heart. So what happens naturally, traumatized mourners often find themselves replaying and reconsidering over and over the circumstances of the death. I know I did this. I didn't know all the details of what had happened, but I created something in my head because I needed to have almost a reason or find out exactly what had happened for my own completion of things. But that now I know that was unrealistic because it's never fully completed. And I'll explain why. for myself. So that from what I learned in the course or in the work that I've done, that it's both normal and necessary to do this
Mm.
because replaying helps you begin to acknowledge the reality of the death and integrate it into your life as if your mind needs to devote time and energy to comprehending the circumstances of the death before it can go on to grieving. And going on to grieving the fact that the person will no longer be a part of our life. Both your feelings of being traumatized by the circumstances of the death and the losing someone you care about must be expressed. Talk to the other survivors. Be open and understanding, as no one will ever have the same response because your grief is naturally complicated. You will probably find it helpful, even necessary, to seek out an extra support. A support group comprised of others affected by violent death and a skilled grief counselor are two resources that can make a difference. So that's from that information is from Alan, from his website. This is a book that was introduced to me by my facilitator, Jessica Lowe. And it is Alan Wolfett. He does a lot of work with grief. So this one I really love. It's it has it's like a mantra, a quote, and his explanation for every day of the year. So every day of the year, there's one. So today's date, April 15th. So I just have this beside my bed. I look at it. I've gone through it many, many, many times. But so for April 15th, Benjamin Franklin says, in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. I'm sure we all know that one. So Alan says, certainty is in short supply in this life. If we open up our hearts to others and practice kindness, we will love and be loved. This means we will also grieve. There are certainties. These are the certainties. But the hows and the whens and the whys are usually beyond our control. So let's focus on the certainties. The sun will rise today, and because we loved, we will feel our grief. We will also continue to feel love for the person who died, as well as for the others in our lives we are close to. In this uncertain life, our love and our grief anchor us. And the mantra that it says is, I am certain that I love and grieve. These experiences form the core of my existence. So in September, a friend of mine passed away, and I sent this book to her husband and her kids. And they were very thankful of that. So the Center for Loss, I will put that in the chat because I can now. And if you like that book, and there's a lot of stuff that we use actually in the coursework that is from Alan. And if you feel like checking out some of his information, I highly recommend that. So do you have any thoughts to share about this last topic about traumatic loss and anything that that I had shared so far? Hmm. Yeah, it's like your mind's playing tricks on you, hey, Nicole? Yeah. Yeah, and that's part of the grief, the disbelief, you know. Therese, we're gonna take that question and put that into the end. Happy if you can save that question for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. Okay, and Diane as well. Yeah. Yeah, Kayla, that's true. Um, everybody does deal with grief differently. You're right, Kayla. I have a little bit more information about that later on in one of the slides. So thank you so much. And so, okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. So traumatic grief. Again, Alan, in life, everyone grieves, but no two grief journeys are ever precisely the same. So I have some more information from Alan here. He writes, your grief will be shaped by many factors, including your relationship with the person who died, the circumstances of the death, your unique personality, your support systems, your religious and spiritual background, and a number of other things. Excuse me. This is something that I find very important, very important. And this was to me, and also, looking at my family members and how we grieved. Each of us grieved differently. We use different supports to help us through our grief as well. So Alan says, be careful about comparing your grief with others. Don't make assumptions about how long your grief should last. Don't mind others if they tell you how to or should not be feeling or behaving. Find ways to mourn that work for you. And there's another author and clinician, Therese Rondeau, that she teaches about traumatic stress. And that refers to a person's distress that is caused by that person's experience of psychological trauma. She compassionately teaches us to remind ourselves that when a traumatic sudden death occurs, the most common challenge for bereaved persons, as well as for those supporting the bereaved individual or family, might be the intensity of the grief responses, since there was no or little time to prepare for the loss. The intensity and duration of these responses are as unique as a fingerprint to each bereaved human being. So there's grief, and then there's traumatic grief. So in life, all of us experience grief in different ways. But at some point, we will all face some kind of loss. It may be the loss of someone we love, the loss of abilities we once had, the loss of a job that gave us purpose, or even the loss of a place that once felt meaningful to us. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross spoke about grief in the terms of 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. But these stages are not a checklist, and they do not happen the same way for everyone. Some people move through them one at a time. Some people feel several of them all at once. Others may not relate to all 5 at all. Grief is deeply personal, and each person's experience of it is unique. Now, traumatic grief is different. This is the kind of grief that can happen when a loss is sudden or unexpected or shocking. In those moments, a person is not only grieving what has been lost, but they may also be experiencing the mind and body's trauma responses, those survival mechanisms that can activate after something overwhelming happens. So we can ask, how unexpected does a loss need to be for grief to become traumatic? There really is no single answer. That threshold is different for every person. What feels traumatic for one person may not feel the same for another. Because of our experiences, histories, and nervous systems, all shape how we respond to the loss. I'm just curious, has anyone ever experienced people saying that, your grief is lasting too long or it's time to move on? And how did that make you feel? Angry. Yes, Trace. Thank you. You hear this in support groups. Oh, interesting. Roberta. Wow. Nicole, yes, and super angry. Absolutely. Diane, yeah, diminished. Exactly. Like not validated. Angry, helpless. Thank you, Frida. Absolutely. Lost. Thanks, Cheryl. hmm Oh, okay, Joanne, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and misunderstood. Alone. Yeah, it's I find that with the people that were saying such things to me, and I mean, it's even coming up on 7 years for the loss of my father, but you know, um, oh, okay, sorry, Roberta. Outside the support group. Okay, thank you. Um, I separated myself from those people. I just didn't need to be around them. And I'm a very extroverted person. And the grief really kept me in. I have a son and my mom had to be, you know, I felt like I needed to take care of them. So I just, shut those people out that were not being supportive. And that was okay. That was okay. Some of them were friends of mine for a long time. But you know what? If they, I didn't need to have that negativity. So I'm glad you got everyone that's shared has shared in a wonderful way. Thank you so much. Yes, Lynn, none of their business why you still want to do it. I did this support group 3 times. 3 times. And then I became a facilitator for so it's none of anybody's business how long you want to grieve for. Absolutely. So this one is a little bit triggering for me, um, and my family. So the justice system, really, we call it the unjust system in my house. Um, you know, dealing with a death is difficult, and when it's the deliberate action of another human taking the life of my father, the pain and loss is intensified and more complicated than if my dad had just died of a heart attack, which I thought happened in the first place. But when it's a homicide, we get to deal with the criminal system. I don't know how many others of you in the group have had to deal with that or continue to deal with that, but I find that it has not been the easiest. This has been the most challenging part um, of my homicide journey. Um, there, for me, I was fortunate to find BCBH for that support, but in other communities, there may not be that. There may not be that support for people. And also media attention. So when the, what are they called? The detectives that were at our house in the afternoon after the death of my father, they said they were going to go to the media and this and that. And I'm like, no, I don't want it out there. But I mean, their reason was to flush out the person, and it did work. But because my dad was well known in the community, I had a lot of people reaching out to me, and even some that had, you know, not great intentions in hand, which was annoying. And I had them dealt with by the police, which was great. But there's an extra layer on this. And, there's pretrial, there's court, there's sentencing. And in our case, there will be parole. So that is something that, as a homicide survivor, that is another layer of what we have to deal with. So, um, you know, in the court, the proceedings, evidence is being shared, the testimony, hearing about what happened over and over and over again. It actually creates delayed closure, and that's what I found. Because we were in a time of COVID as well, and there was firing of the lawyer for the accused and all this stuff. It was just like, when do we get to sort of finish this? So it was, we had the trial a few years ago. He's in jail, but then now he's going to be released, right? So then it's another stressor coming on to us. But anyway, have the tools to deal with it. So yeah, you really feel like you have a loss of control. And everything's in the public, and it quiets down, but then when trial comes up, anyway. So I don't know if any of you are in a journey with court or anything like that. I'm going to check out the chat here. But yeah, I don't. So yeah, just curious, is anyone sort of going through that right now, or what part of their journey with a court is it? No, yeah, right. No justice. Julianne, yeah, the corporate process has been the most haunting, re-traumatizing, challenging part of my journey. Absolutely. Absolutely. So unique to our homicide. Justice. Yeah, no. Nicole's in court right now. Okay. Yeah. Karen, thank you for sharing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't share details. I couldn't tell people about things. I had a couple people that I was able to share with because I needed to. But they kept it quiet, which was really nice. Oh, victim impact statements. Yes, Sandy, I remember doing that. Oh, in the media. Oh, get that going to the media. Yep, it is our own life sentence, isn't it? We had a really good crown too, Karen. We had a really good Brendan. He was amazing. Um, yeah, I mean, we were very lucky to have the support of the police. And I know a lot of, well, not a lot, but I mean, there are cases where there isn't much support from that. Okay, yeah. So just yeah, it looks like we feel each other in this webinar. Thank you. So let's look at this. So grieving and supporting. So we learn about what's called the Mourner's Bill of Rights. And within that, there's about 6 or 7 of them, but I'm gonna just go over a few here just to give you a little bit of hope. So you might you have the Mourner's Bill of Rights. Okay, so you have the right to move toward your grief and heal. Reconciling your grief will not happen quickly. Remember, grief is a process, not an event. Be patient and tolerant with yourself and avoid people who are impatient and intolerant with you. Neither you nor those around you must forget that the death of someone loved changes your life forever. Absolutely. You have the right to experience grief bursts, sometimes out of nowhere. And everybody, you're going to relate with this. A powerful surge of grief may overcome you. So it could be like any of those emotions. This can be frightening, but is normal and natural. Find someone who understands and will let you talk it out. You have the right to experience your own unique grief. No one else will grieve in exactly the same way you do. So when you turn to others for help, don't allow them to tell you what you should or should not be feeling. Okay. So some other tools here. So 7 aspects of coping through resiliency. So I'm just going to give you a few of these. And these are some of the tools and information that you'll be learning um, within the support group. So resiliency is the ability to overcome challenges of all kinds of trauma, tragedy, personal crises, and bounce forward stronger, wiser, and more personally powerful. The 7 resiliencies describe clusters of strength that are mobilized through the struggle with the hardship. The 7 aspects of coping through resilience by Woolen and Woolen. These are insight, independence, relationships, initiative, humor, creativity, and mortality. These are resiliencies that are particularly relevant when considering the impact of loss and how people find ways to cope, heal, and rebuild their lives. So we dive in more into the first 2 examples during the support group. So let's just check some time here. So I just want to make sure that, so helping a homicide survivor heal. So that's Alan Wolfett. There's an article about this. So I'll just read it out here. Allow for numbness. Feeling dazed or numb is a good thing for your friend. This numbness serves as a valuable purpose. It grieves emotions that come up with what the mind has been told. Nothing in one's coping mechanisms prepares survivors for this kind of trauma. Shock is like an aesthetic. It helps create insulation from the reality of your death until your friend is more able to tolerate what he or she doesn't want to believe. Don't assume your friend is being strong and taking it well. When they are really in shock, they may appear strong, but early on in grief, their appearance reflects their numbness and disbelief. However, they need you now, and will particularly need you when shock begins to wear off and reality sets in. Let your friend move at their own pace. It is damaging to try to push someone through shock and numbness walking by walking with or sorry, numbness. By walking with your friend at their own pace, you're giving one of life's most precious gifts. Okay. So I just wanted to say one last thing. So some survivors find that support groups are helpful and some don't. But for those who want to participate in a support group, you may be able to find them one. Here it is. This practical effort on your part will be appreciated. The homicide support group that BCBH runs gave me the tools that I needed. All right, so let's see, is there anything on here? Oh, thank you for putting that in there. Okay. So there were some questions from before, is that right? Happy, I can scroll up, maybe back up here and see.
Do you want me to go back to the question earlier?
Yeah, I think there were two questions there
Yeah.
that
So the
we
one
wanted to wait till
from
the end.
Therese, let me post this right now.
Okay, thank you. I hope I can answer. If I can't, then maybe
Let's post it in the chat now.
okay. So, okay, Teresa, so you say that knowing that people relive the trauma um, that they had, is it useful in the group to recount it? Um, I found that it was because I learned through the 8 weeks that we had been doing the course or the coursework, I guess you could say, that it is laid out to be able to help with that. And then understanding that the trauma is also part of the grief, and to be able to you have to be able to work through it, and that trauma and that grief, it will come back just like anxiety will come back, but learning the tools to be able to lessen and lessen the time of the impact or the intensity of the trauma is something that um, is is taught within the coursework. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And then where are we? Diane. Diane, was I able to answer more of your questions from the rest of the slides that I had shared and the information? You had asked about how trauma impacts grief. Do, do, do.
I just want to answer a question from Tama. Tama, thank you for asking the wait list for our
Mm,
homicide support group. Currently, we don't have a wait list, which is a good thing. But this is the reason why we are hosting this webinar to let people know about the support that BC Bereavement Helpline can give. So, but we don't guarantee definitely that as soon as you sign up for any of our support group, you're going to be placed in the next support group. That is only because we do our intakes and we carefully placed people in a support group that feels right for them. So that's something that will take place once you agree into many things, like the timing of the support group that's going to happen, the date, if you can commit to all 8 weeks, and many things that you and the facilitator will talk about during the intake. So hopefully that helps with your question about the wait list.
I just wanted to say with Tama, what she had said here. Those with traumatic loss can be helpful. Recognize and reassure them that they're on their own, I guess, in their trauma. Can also be really helpful for people to introduce their loved one and share about their person, not just focus on the death story. Well, that is that is two of our sessions that we do. It's called restorative storytelling. So that's a beautiful, beautiful part of the coursework, and yeah, we do that. All right. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I appreciate your thank yous. All right. So I hope everybody had a chance to scan the QR code. Hopefully these little red lines don't get in the way. And to stay connected with us, also, there's some information here. Our phone number, email, website. And yeah, please stay connected. I think there's a newsletter that you can sign up for too. Is that right? I get it. But oh, somebody says they can't scan the code or can't scan the. Should I go back? Let me try scanning it.
The link to this survey has been posted in the chat for everyone who can't scan the code. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Do you have any more question considering the time that we have? We could probably ask, we may be open to one more question.
Well, that's great that Chilliwack offers traumatic support groups. Thank you everyone for joining tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. And this work has not been something that I thought I would ever be doing, but I'm so fortunate to be doing it.
Much, Trista, for being here with us tonight. And thank you so much, everyone. Take care of yourself. We hope to see you in the next webinar that's going to be on June 7th. This is our Mother's Day special webinar, so featuring mother's loss. And I know I saw Ariel joining us today, but maybe she's no longer. But thank you. Hope to see you on our next webinar. Good night, everyone.